France's Interior Minister says police arrested more than 700 people on the fifth night of unrest across the country. The family and friends of the 17-year-old who was killed by police conducted a private funeral. The teenager, who was of North African heritage, was shot dead by police during a traffic stop. The shooting has sparked nationwide protests and reignited issues about police racism.
As dusk fell on Saturday evening, a large police presence descended on central Paris in anticipation of a fifth night of violence. Officers conducted searches as authorities sent thousands of reinforcements to flashpoint locations across the country.
They checked me twice yesterday. During the day, they checked us at least 4 times. We are just here for justice. We are not here to break stuff.
There were further heavy clashes in the southern city of Marseille, with police firing tear gas in an attempt to disperse protesters. Hundreds of shops and businesses have been destroyed since the unrest broke out on Tuesday, following the killing of Nahel M by a police officer during a traffic stop.
We don't know why they attack stores. I don't see the point of taking it out on stores or anything else that's going on around here. Everything's burnt, the cars. It's not going to bring that young man back, unfortunately.
Public transport and private vehicles have been set ablaze, along with town halls, police stations and other public buildings. Emmanuel Macron has cancelled a state visit to Germany to deal with what's become the worst crisis of his second presidential term.
The first response, of course, is to ensure the safety of property and the safety of people, to return order as quickly as possible. There is no nation without order.
Mourners gathered on Saturday at a mosque to bid farewell to Nahel M in a private ceremony. His killing has put the spotlight on policing and racial inequality in France. Activists say the explosion of rage and violence can only be quelled by action to address racially motivated police brutality.
During last night's riots, the home of a Paris suburb mayor was ram-raided and set alight. Vincent Jeanbrun, mayor of the southern suburb of Les Riots, said in a statement that his wife and one of his children were injured. Jeanbrun, from the conservative Les Republicains party, was not at home but at the town hall during the incident. The regional prosecutor has opened an investigation for attempted murder. And I'm joined now by DW correspondent Sonja Falniker, who is in the commune of Les Riots in the southern suburbs of Paris. Sonja, is there any new information there? What happened last night?
Well, Monica, we can't actually get close to the home of the mayor, Vincent Jeanbrun, because, as you can see behind me, the street there has been completely cordoned off by the police. What we do know is that protesters rammed a car into the garden gate of his home. His children and wife were reportedly asleep in the house. We're getting reports that his wife has been injured and has been hospitalized. And as you can imagine, this incident has sparked huge outrage here. We've been hearing from public prosecutors who just gave a short press conference. They say that the car used in the attack on the mayor was meant to burn the house. They say police have found fuel in a bottle of Coca-Cola, and they have, as you said, opened an investigation into attempted murder. Now, we don't know, of course, who is behind this, but this comes, of course, after days of unrest and violent protests really exploding across France. We heard earlier from Valérie Pécresse. She is a member of the Les Republicains, the centre-right Les Republicains party, the same party as the local mayor here. She is also the president of the Île-de-France region, which includes Paris and the suburbs, and this is what she had to say.
I am confident that violence will decrease in the following days. All the troops, the forces are on the field and working on building a new security in the region. So I'm very confident. But what's happening is ultra-violence by small groups of people that are very well organized and very well trained, and they want to defy the Republic. And the Republic will not yield, and we will fight back.
As we saw there, Monica, I mean, we don't know exactly who these groups are that she's referring to. She declined to mention them when we asked her later. But we have heard from French authorities in recent days who say that there are small groups, mobile groups who have been organizing for riots and disturbances on various social media platforms.
Right, and in the past days, of course, Sonia, we have heard of multiple attacks by rioters on town halls, police stations, or even schools. How are French officials handling all this?
Well, I think the French government's response really has been to really ramp up security, put more police officers on the ground. There are about 45,000 of them across the country who were deployed. Last night, we've seen police reinforcements being sent to hotspots like Marseille and Lyon. They've also been using things like helicopters and drones to track the unrest. And of course, President Macron has also, kind of stopped short of calling for a state of emergency, but he has also urged parents to kind of keep their teenage children at home, away from riots. He has talked about the role of social media in kind of amplifying this violence.
And how much of a crisis have these protests been for President Macron?
Well, I think this certainly represents a big crisis for him. He has cancelled a planned state visit to Germany, and I think that just shows you just how serious the situation is here in France. I think Macron now faces a very kind of tricky political balancing act. He faces pressure from the right and the extreme right to offer a more harsher response. There are people who are calling for a state of emergency, but he's also trying not to further inflame the situation and, further kind of aggravate a backlash against police violence, which is largely perceived here as disproportionately targeted against French citizens of Arab and African descent.
All right, Sonia Falniker, they're reporting for us in Paris, our DW correspondent in Paris. Thank you so much, Sonia.